Hello, and welcome to episode 39 of the SomerKnits podcast. Welcome back to the SomerKnits podcast. My name is Summer, and this is a podcast all about knitting and fiber arts, sometimes crochet, sometimes spinning, but mostly knitting. If you are new here, thank you for joining me. And if you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for your continued support of the podcast. I know it has been a while. The last podcast I recorded was before spring break. I've had a lot going on. I work in tax, and tax season can get a little bit busy, and the kids have had a lot of school events, and I just haven't had any time to sit down and record. So, I was grateful to have a little bit of a break today, and hopefully I can get everything in. I do have Zoom meetings and things to hop into, so I'm going to just get going with everything. The first thing I want to mention real quick is I got myself, as a reward for tax season, a new coffee mug, and it is large. It's a 20-ounce coffee mug, but it is from Jam PDX, and it is a Knit-O-Matic coffee mug, and they made it for a particular yarn store, I believe, some fibery event, and I forget exactly what it was, but it's got a little magic wand that leads to these colorful yarn balls and then little magic explosions. So it's not dishwasher safe because of the gold sparkle. They did do dishwasher safe options in, like, I think shot glasses and tumblers, but I really wanted the wand. Actually, I was going to get the tumbler because I didn't care so much if there was gold sparkles, but I wanted the wand, and that's not on the tumblers. And so I love it. It is giant, but it's perfect for a large latte or a big cozy cup of tea, especially if I'm going to, like, snuggle in bed and knit, and I don't want to have to get up a number of times to refill my cup. It's very handy. So, and the inside is this gorgeous turquoise color. Anyway, I just love it. I also got one of their Yarn Chicken soap dishes because I've been on the lookout for a cute handmade soap dish. I like things that make me happy. And seeing things like that every day, just like sitting by my sink and stuff, those kinds of things make me happy. So I went ahead and got one of those also. If you are not familiar with Jam PDX, check them out on Instagram or at their website, and I will link all of that below. I feel so very out of practice just because it's been more than a month since I recorded, and so hopefully I can get into a groove, and hopefully you're not as annoyed by this ring light as I am, but it is cloudy today, and I was having trouble getting enough natural light in the house to record. So my first finished object I actually need to get in the mail because it is a crocheted blanket square for Christen from the We Share Needles podcast. She is having a baby, and as part of her baby gifts from fellow crafters, she's asked for these squares to be put together into a giant blanket that it's going to be more than a baby blanket. It's going to grow with the child, so it's going to be full size. So squares from all over are being sent to her, and this is my square, and I was planning on making another square, and I might still try. But last week, I couldn't even hardly knit. I couldn't hold things. I was struggling to use the mouse at work. I was having to wear a wrist brace, and it was just a very frustrating week. So I have not yet. I find crocheting, especially on small crochet hooks, harder on my hands. And maybe that's because all of my crochet hooks are the very old style, straight, skinny, metal crochet hooks that my great-grandmother used. Not that they were hers. I mean, I have some that were hers, but like that same style. And nowadays, I think there's big like fat ergonomic ones that are supposed to be better on your hands, but I've never tried one of those. And I don't crochet enough that I feel like investing in a very expensive crochet hook, but maybe I should sometime, because after making this square, now I kind of want to do a granny square blanket of some sort. I love the idea of a crowdsourced blanket, just like that coziness of all that love from all those different crafters coming together to make this one giant object. So I don't know. Let me know if you'd be interested if I did a crowdsourced blanket just for fun. And then as part of that, did maybe a drawing for some awesome Yarny prize from everyone who sent a square. So like every square would be an entry. But then also just like that coziness would just be something that I could have and share with people who come to visit, and the stories from making friends on the podcast and stuff that have become very special to me. I don't know. I think that could be really fun. But here's my square. It is fingering weight held double. So this is a pale lavender and a dark like berry color. And I know it looks very similar on camera to the center. The center is actually, it was a tiny sample size skein, and it actually has like browns and creams and purples in it. But when I pulled from the inside and the outside of the skein, the center here is so small that it only caught the purples and it didn't even get into the browns. So maybe if I do another one, I'll use the same one for the center because it is such a tiny skein. And we'll get more of the browns and creams together with the purple. And then I had this leftover yellow. I think this is from my first ranunculus because I did the yellow at the bottom. And then, like I said, the light lavender was I want to say it might have been a Crystal Skies hand-dyed color, and then I don't know where the berry came from. It was just all mini skeins. So that is my blanket square, and I need to get it in the mail desperately. My next finished object has been a long time coming. Not as long as some things, but it felt long to me. So I finally finished the second sock from my Advent skein from Area 51 Fibers. This was the Tea with the Bridgertons skein, and now I have a full pair. It's no longer a hoe. Now it is an actual finished object. I'm very excited about these socks. I love the colors, and even though this was an Advent skein, these colors feel super appropriate for spring, and I can't wait to wear them. It's been really warm here the last week or so, and then all of a sudden we had a cold snap again today. And so I kind of want to put these on my feet as soon as I'm done, but I'm going to have to weave in the ends first because I have not done that yet on the second sock. I did that on the first sock because I know how much I dislike weaving in ends. So I went ahead and did that when I finished the first sock, which is awesome for current me. Thank you, past me, because it means that I only have one sock's worth of ends to weave in. So I did I want to get the name of the pattern right because I think I butcher it almost every time. But it is the Puzzle Stripe Sock Pattern by Emma Bermudez, and I think it's a free pattern. That is it's blowing out. That's the pattern photo. So let me see if you can see. Some of these color shifts are so subtle that it's hard to see. The pattern is only on the top of the foot. I should have put these on blockers. I don't know what I was thinking. That's all right. The pattern is, I literally just Kitchenered the toe before I started recording, and I put off recording specifically because I wanted these to be finished instead of having only 10 rows left in the stinking tote, because that's where I was. You can see the puzzle stripe pattern, the slip stitches create, and I think it's really cute, and it was a nice way to still make a fairly vanilla sock, but just give it a little bit of visual interest. And then on the bottom, it's just the straight stockinette. So, and it was a short row heel, and I haven't done a whole lot of those, and I have a bit of gap that I'm going to have to sew up in those, but I really enjoyed making these when I bothered to pick them up and work on them. I'm just a very slow sock knitter. I don't find the same rhythm with socks that I do with other things, but I'm always really glad to have them when I finish them. I would absolutely order from Area 51 Fibers again. I believe, even though it's not the stitch count in the puzzle stripe sock pattern, that I actually did a 58 stitch leg and foot. I have US size 6 women's feet. That's the shoe size that I wear. And a lot of sock patterns that if I follow them, even the small, a lot of times the size range for the small is like 6 to 7.5 or whatever. And so I can often end up with a loose sock if I follow a 60 or 64 stitch count. Even going down a needle size. I believe I used a size 1 needle. I do have some zeros, but I believe I used a size 1 needle for these. And I did, if you'll remember, I did one on magic loop and one on double pointed needles. And then actually when I got finished with the one that was on magic loop, I slipped all the stitches from the double points onto magic loop. I feel like the gauge is pretty similar. I feel like the one that was on double pointed needles is just a tiny bit tighter in the leg, but not enough to matter. I'm going to block them. I'll throw them on sock blockers, and I'm just really excited to have these done. I'm not sure if I should visit whips in order of oldest to newest or closest to being done. So it's going to be random. But let's see. You have seen this whip before. It is a Musselburgh. This is one of the Pride colorways that I ordered last June from, goodness, I'm forgetting everything right now. I'll put the name of the yarn dyer on the screen and below. Anyway, I ordered a variety of different things from her, and this is a sport weight rainbow yarn. And I think I talked last time about how from far away I don't love it because I only see the green and yellow from far away, and I feel like it gets muddy. Up close, you can see that there's a whole lot of vibrant color in there. And I was going to just throw this in the gift stash. I feel like, and I got this in a sock base also, that I will not make a Musselburgh with the sock base because I feel like when it was a smaller circumference and the colors were pooling a bit, I got more of the individual colors. Like I could read them better. I could see them from a distance, as opposed to when they got to be just tiny little bits and they got muddy. But anyway, I was going to put this in the gift basket because I'm very close to being done. It feels like I still have a lot of yarn, but it also feels like it's pretty long. And I can't remember, I'll have to count the stitches. I can't remember. I think I cast on for the adult small because that seems to fit both me and the kids really well. And I figured if I was gifting, that the vast majority of people I would gift to an adult small would be fine. I find this pattern stretches very well and can accommodate a wide variety of people. So anyway, I'm probably going to go until I only have enough left to decrease and just make it as long as I can. But this morning, my son told me that he wanted it. So it sounds like it's not going in the gift basket, that it is sticking around, and it's going to go in just the hat basket by the front door where the kids grab their hats before school. So I'll just finish it as I can. I carry this one around when I need something that I can knit on and not have to look at, not need to pay attention to, no stitch counting. You know, on the sock, I needed to pay attention to where the color changes were and stuff, which I think slowed me down from finishing that sock. If it had been a plain vanilla sock where I could have knit it without looking at it or thinking about it, I feel like I would have finished it a lot sooner. So this is my knitting without thinking project that is small enough to fit in my purse. And so, I mean, because it is hot here already, I mean, not today, but it's warm enough that you don't want a hat. I'm not too worried about when I finish it, but I am just going to keep carrying it around. And I know that, you know, even if all I do is put one row of stitches in at a time, or I have it in the car and I just knit in the car line to pick up from school, that it will get done. It's just one of those projects that I know it's going to get done. I just don't know when it'll get done, and it's not a very big deal. The only reason I kind of wanted to finish it this month is because where I write down in my planner what I finished every month is, well, now it's not anymore. It was totally blank for this month, but now I can write these socks in, or the second sock, because I actually did this at the end of March when we first got back from spring break, I believe. So I had nothing written down for finished objects in April, and that was making me feel a little sad. Now, not too sad, because I have been working on some fabulous things. The next WIP I want to talk about is one I've lost a little steam on, even though I absolutely adore it, just because the weather got warm. So here is my Lento, and I absolutely have plans to make more Lentos. Like, I love this. It's just that the alternating mohairs is a little tedious. I'm not going to lie. It was a little bit tedious, or a lot tedious. But what really caused me to lose momentum on this project was that I was in bed knitting it. Oh, it's upside down. Let me get this right ways. So this is my Lento. And if you watch the podcast, the last podcast, you'll know that I was using 2 different hand-dyed mohairs, and I've taken the labels out of my bag, so I'll have to look it up, and alternating them and using an undyed merino single as to hold it double. But I'm getting this really gorgeous fabric, purple with pops of aqua and red, and I love it. I love the look. I love the feel. I couldn't be any happier with this fabric. It's just that alternating mohairs is tedious, and it's one thing when you're doing the body and it's only once every large round, but on the sleeves, it just gets particularly tedious. And like I said, the thing that really caused me to lose momentum on this project was that I was sitting in bed knitting one night, and I got to where I needed to change needle sizes to do the cuff, and did not have the needle size I needed to change to immediately to hand. The set of interchangeables that I had in my bedroom, which is these shorty tips, these are the KNITPICKS 4-square shorties. So they are a square needle, which is just really comfortable in the hand, and they're a wooden needle, which is good since I am a loose knitter. I couldn't find the size 6 tips, and I couldn't remember what project they were in. And I couldn't find a size 6 long fixed needle that I could just magic loop with. So I set it aside and worked on something else the rest of the evening, and then just didn't pick it back up. Ultimately, working on the sleeve in the evenings while watching TV, the sleeve didn't take too long, so I don't think it'll be hard to finish once I find the right needle and put the ribbing on here, or put these stitches on hold, but that just creates more ends to have to weave in. So I'd rather be able to find the right needle and finish this sleeve, and then work on the second sleeve. But it is definitely going to be too warm here to wear this this spring. I don't think it's going to cool down enough especially since I don't have it done yet. Um, but it goes so fast that I absolutely want to make more of these. And I'm actually really loving the loose gauge on the fingering weight plus mohair. Um, and I have some DK weight that I could totally make one with. I don't know. But I could see myself making more Lentos just because of how quick it goes. And it's a nice, mostly mindless raglan, really, because it wasn't difficult raglan increases. And I know some people have gotten creative with how they've done the raglan increases on the Lentos, so that's a possibility as well. I did do the folded collar. It's kind of, it was interesting how it was done instead of folding it down to sew it down, the way it was cast on with 2 needles and then knit together. I actually really liked that. But I could do one with just regular ribbing for a neckband. I don't know, all kinds of possibilities, because it is a way to get a full sweater out of less yardage. And since I have a big stash that I don't 100% have plans for, I could see pulling out a few more of the sets where I only have 2 or 3 skeins and making another Lento. I think I got gauge with the needle recommended in the pattern. I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm using size 10s on the sleeves, so I'm going to guess that I used a 10 on the body, and it's a 6 on the collar and the ribbing, so that's what I was looking for my sleeve. But this is my Lento, and I absolutely love it, and I started it as part of the Let's Lento Cal, and I just haven't finished it. And we'll get to why, other than losing momentum, what's been occupying most of my actual thinking knitting time very shortly. I'm a little sad that I didn't get to film this whole podcast at once. I'm actually filming in chunks because I had a meeting in between starting and getting to finish, and I feel like my energy and my mojo has shifted a little bit, but I'm going to crack on because it's been so long since I've put out a podcast, and I have so much to talk about, and I really want to get that out there. So I'm saving my big project for last, but I have also been carrying around my Cumulus, which has been a super long time project. I cast it on last fall, I think. But it was one of those projects where it felt like nothing was happening for a long time because it is an endless sea of stockinette on fairly small stitches, and it just makes for a really lovely fabric, though. And I adore this color. So this is KNITPICKS Gloss Lace held double. Normally the Cumulus blouse is knit in 2 strands of mohair, I believe, but I decided to do a non-mohair lace weight, which I think will make for a shirt that I can wear for a longer period of time in the climate that I live in, just because it gets so warm and so humid here. And mohair in humidity is not always a great combo. I feel like, and maybe you feel differently, but I feel like once I get sweaty, mohair becomes uncomfortable. And the more humid it is, the quicker I start to feel a little sweaty. So a non-mohair super drapey option is what I went with. And I've talked about this a lot before. But I'm really close to finishing the body. In fact, I need to put it on a barber cord and try it on again, because I think that I only have like an inch or 2 left before I do the I-cord at the bottom. And then I am going to do, I think, the 3/4 length sleeves, because I think that will be beautiful. I'm still on my first 2 balls of gloss lace, because it has 800 yards per ball, I believe. And the balls are still pretty big. So I don't foresee any problem with getting 3/4 length sleeves, because I have 2 more skeins of this that I can get out. So if I don't use those two skeins, I don't know, I think it's a little bit thin to get a Lento out of. But I bet I could do another super drapey top, or if I wanted to do something with two colors. If you've been a long-time viewer, you might remember the hot pink that I did that floaty cabled pullover in. It was also gloss lace, I believe. If not, it was shimmer lace. But I have pink left over, and I have 2 full skeins of the blue, which I know I won't use the 2 full skeins because I'm almost through the body of this cumulus, and I should weigh these. There's still a lot here. I don't know what to say about this, except I did see that she released the pattern in extended sizing, and I know that that had been a long time coming, and it doesn't necessarily make up for the lack of size inclusivity in a lot of her patterns, but I do know this cumulus is by Petite Knit, and she did last week, maybe sometime recently, release this pattern in more sizes. So if it's something you'd wanted to knit before and your size was not available, go check it again. And if that is something that you really want, it is available to you now. So this is the cumulus, and I really love it. Like I said, I've talked a lot about it before, but I have been trying to make a point of taking it with me when I need something that I can do mindlessly, but it doesn't have to fit in a purse. So if I'm taking a backpack or something, or a larger crossbody bag or something, then I can take this. See, it does take up a bit of space. It doesn't just fit in a regular purse like a sock or the musselburgh, but it is just mindless stockinette. And so I've done a lot of it sitting in car line, waiting on my kids, or out with people at bars, any place where I needed to just not have to look at my hands, knit in stockinette in the round. I didn't find any issues with the fact that it's double strand. I don't usually have problems catching both strands. That's not usually a barrier for me to taking stuff. So I've been trying to make a point of keeping this one accessible to me so that I can grab it anytime I need mindless knitting. And I think by doing that, I've managed to make progress on that one, even though it feels really slow. I thought I had put a progress keeper in it, actually, just because it helps me to eyeball the progress, but I don't see it now. So maybe it was pulling on it and I took it off. Does anyone else have that problem where sometimes it feels like the progress keeper is pulling on your stitches? A lot of the really cute progress keepers are just a bit heavy for lace weight like this, I think. But I guess I could put a light bulb stitch marker in it or something to mark the place. But progress on the cumulus, and I feel like it's light enough that no matter what time of year I finish it, it will be office appropriate, because my office is heavily air conditioned in the summer, and it's so lightweight that I think it'll totally work. Okay, the last whip, the big whip, the whip that's been getting almost all of the time and attention because it's been such a joy to knit. Let me get it right side up. This is the Trinigan. It's too big for me to even hold up. I'll insert photos because I just did a try on this morning, although I had to sit through a 2.5 hour Zoom meeting, and that means that unlike in the try on photos from this morning, both sleeves are now finished. So I was able to finish the second sleeve during the meeting, and then bind it off as soon as that meeting was over. So this is a pattern by Andrea Mowry. It is listed as a cardigan, but I feel like it's almost, depending on your climate, almost like a coat. The sleeves are not full length. They are a bit cropped, but it's more of a jacket cardigan than like a cardigan. I don't know. How do you explain that? It's very jacket-like, and it is worsted weight yarn. So it does have some heft to it, like quite a bit. It has nice deep 3-inch ribbing at the bottom, and then it goes into this mosaic knitting pattern. I have used KNITPICKS CHROMA twist, and I showed this before I caked it up. The reason I caked it up, because it does come in ready to knit balls, the reason I caked it up is I wanted to be able to see the color progression, because even though I wasn't trying to make things match exactly, I was trying to get at least similar vibes from certain areas of the sweater. So like the sleeves are not an exact match, but they're a similar vibe. They start dark and they go light. In the body, I didn't want the transitions between colors to be choppy. So you can see the color sections are different widths. They're not uniform, and that's fine because it's like that in the balls of yarn as well. But I did try each time I changed balls of yarn to get as close as possible to the finishing color of one and the starting color of the next in the progression, so that there wasn't a harsh line of change, so that it kind of flowed through the colors. And I think that that worked out really well. I really like that. It's not harsh. The contrast color is SPINCYCLE Dream State, and I'm done with all of the parts that use Dream State, and I have so much left over. I made the size 3, and I have all of this Dream State left, and I ordered 5 balls because that's what the pattern said I needed. And I started with the darkest skein and was progressing towards the lightest, and I never even broke into the lightest skein. If I had it to do again, not that I'm probably not going to knit this pattern again because it's a big pattern and I'm not a huge re-knitter, except for like patterns that go really fast. If I had it to do again, I probably would have eliminated the darker skein if I had known that I wasn't going to use it at all, so that I could have gotten to this lighter skein that had quite a bit more contrast to it. But I still love how it looks. It's going to be very hard for me to show it on the screen because, I got fiber in my nose. Because the purple is kind of dark, but in the sunlight, there's all the variation. You can see a little bit of it in that twist from the SPINCYCLE. And then you can see in the sleeve, the other sleeve's a bit darker. But in the sunlight, in natural light, up close, you can see all kinds of variation in the purple. It just doesn't show in pictures or very well on camera. It just looks dark. But it is all these lovely purples and the lovely turquoise. All I have left now is the button band. And that is going to be long because I'm pretty sure, I can't remember the exact width of the button band, but it looks comparable to the bottom ribbing, which would make it a 3-inch button band. And it will go all the way from the bottom around the neck and back down again. So my goal is to finish it this month, to finish it in April. I don't know if that's going to happen. I would love to get all the stitches picked up tonight so that I'm working on it, but then we have like a camp out coming up, and we have school events coming up, and there's all kinds of things coming up. So we'll see. But my goal is to pick up all the stitches tonight and at least be able to start the button band. And maybe if I can give it some time every day, even if it's only a little time, I can have this finished jacket. because I think it'll be great for those days where the morning is cold, but the afternoon is hot. So I can wear it into the office in the morning and then I'll just carry it out with me in the afternoon. I like that it's short sleeve, it's big wide sleeves, so it's going to have some airflow, but it's still going to be cozy because it's going to have all that drape. It is going to take quite a bit of space to block, but I am absolutely thrilled with this. Highly recommend the pattern. Very easy to follow. Hoping it's an FO next time that I film. Okay, the Trinigan wasn't the last whip because I meant to give you an update on my temperature blanket. I realize it's been a hot minute since I did that, and I'm behind again on it. I had totally caught up, and then I got to a point on the Trinigan where I was like super into it, and so I quit using my morning time on the temperature blanket, but also I got to where my wrist was hurting, and I didn't know if the super grippy bamboo needles and acrylic yarn was causing an issue because it seemed to hurt more when I was working on that than other things. So anyway, I took a break from it, but I'm still recording the daily temperatures and I will get back to it. This is my temperature blanket so far. And if you've been here a while, you might remember that I am using the excavation blanket pattern, except instead of like size 2 needles or whatever it is it calls for, I am using worsted weight yarn on size 8 needles. I have gone through and put a progress keeper for each month. So way down here, everything below this little butterfly is January. It is so hard to hold this up so that you can see it. So January is down here, and then we go to, this is February, and then March. And since this is a year in the life, it's the high temperature wherever I am that day. So you can see that we went skiing for spring break. And so there's some cold there that Oklahoma didn't necessarily have. I did hear it was cold while we were gone on spring break, but we were in cold where there was a point, instead of just being cold. So there's the only strip of this really light color. There's one little line of it in the whole blanket so far, because it's the only day where I have been somewhere where it never got above 20 degrees. So this is my color for 10 to 19. And then this one is 20 to 29, the little light blue. All this other is 29 to 30. So it was actually pretty warm for skiing. Anyway, then we came back to Oklahoma and I got my first day of pink, which means over 80. So 80 to 89. And then you can see where April started and we started to get the pink more often. But the days I'm missing in April so far are almost entirely purple or the dark turquoise. Maybe a little bit of the light purple, but I'm enjoying how the colors are coming together. I'm still loving the excavation blanket pattern and not having to weave in any ends. You tie square knots. And I was thinking that when I got to the halfway point of the year, I would lay flat the blanket as much as possible. And I'm actually going to go through and tie the tails to the ones beside them and kind of make a pattern. And that's really hard to explain. So if you've ever seen like super intricate ties, where you tie it to the one next to it, and then you come back again and tie them back to themselves so that it kind of makes a little pattern in the ties. I also think that that will add to, I know a square knot is supposed to hold, but I want to be able to wash this blanket. That was the point of using a washable acrylic yarn, was that anyone in the family could use this blanket and I wasn't going to have to worry about it. The investment is time, not necessarily a lot of money, but just to strengthen those ties at the outside, if I make a pattern in the ties to make pretty tassels, the more ties that are in there, the more square knots securing that, the less likely anything from the blanket unravels. So hopefully that makes sense. But that is my plan, and I am still loving this blanket so far. I don't know. I don't know what else to say about it. I'm really enjoying doing it. A temperature blanket has been on my list of intentions for a very long time. So I'm excited to actually be working it up this year. So speaking of temperatures, changes in temperatures, and intentions, I am hoping to revisit my Petal Party crop that I started last summer. I adore the look of this finished object, but I admit that I just had a mental block on the lace, and it was not flowing for me last summer. There were so many times when I had to tink back just from miscounting, not being able to read it correctly. I know it should end up just a simple diagonal lace, but for some reason I was struggling to read the knitting as I was doing it. And I'm sure that that was just me, because it's a very well written pattern. It's by Samantha Guerin, and wonder if I have a photo of the finished object. If not, I can potentially insert one. Yeah, it's going to be too dark for you to probably see it, but it's just a sweet little crop, and I'm going to see yardage-wise how much length I can get out of it. I'd like for it to hit at the high hip and not be super cropped, but I'm also not looking for super long. I just think it's going to be a sweet little design, and I really love it. The yarn is a Southern Skeins yarn, and I can't remember which month it was. Oh, that's blowing out. It's just too much light. Anyway, it's a beautiful speckle, all these bright colors. I really love it. That's probably more true to color back here by me. So it's kind of a creamy white base, and then tons of happy little speckles, and I just thought it was perfect for the Petal Party crop. And so I'm saying it here so that I can hold myself accountable, because I really want this finished object, and I love the progress I have so far. I know I got distracted by test knits and other things last summer. So I'm stating my intention here to finish this summer. I don't know if it'll be right away, because I have a few other planned cast-ons, but my intention is to have this out and work on it. It might be my evening knitting, the hour that I try to knit after the kids go to bed, where I can sit down and focus on a pattern and actually do the more complicated things, as opposed to something that I run around with. But I'm also planning to cast on a Guerin cardigan. That is a recent pattern by Rebecca of the Crayabea, and it is a kind of an open lacework cardigan. My mother brought me back some sport weight light blue yarn from Colorado. It's wool. And I only have 600 yards. I think it's yards, not meters, but I'd have to double check that. Anyway, only 600 yards, but I can do a short sleeve cropped Guerin cardigan that might be just enough layering piece for being inside in the air conditioning, and then taking off when I go outside, but just a layering piece for spring here, because I do want some short sleeve cardigans, and I feel like that open lace work would be great. And this wool is beautiful, but like I said, only having 600 yards, I had kind of not really known exactly what to do with it, or if I was going to find something to pair with it. But when I looked at the yardage requirements for my size in a short sleeve, it's a little bit less than it calls for, but I could do the V-neck, which would use a little bit less than the crew neck, and I can make it more cropped so that it's just a little sweater jacket to pull on over a strappy dress or over a tank top. I don't know. I think it'll be perfect, and I absolutely love that pattern, and all the reviews are that it knits up super fast and super easy. So that's one of my next planned cast-ons. I'm also excited to see Rebecca's next pattern that's coming out, the Tulsa tee. I have some yarns I think would definitely work for that. I've been keeping an eye on the test knitter pages for that, or Instagram pics and stuff. Like, very excited for that pattern. Also keeping an eye on Laura Penrose's new side-to-side cardigan that is going to be going into test knitting this summer. I have, I think, the perfect yarn for that one also. I can totally see it being knit up in the Harrisville daylights or nightshades. I think that that would be beautiful. I only have about 5 minutes to update you on life stuff before I have to go pick up the kids. The day has just gone poof. The days they do that. So in the only really big news I finally have a date for the post, for the implant, for the tooth that had to come out. And yes, it still very much bothers me. Not in feeling it, but in seeing it. Like, it still very much drives me crazy. So I'll get the post, and that will have to have like a 3 to 4 month healing time before there's actually a tooth cap on there. This is such a long process. But by the fall, hopefully, there will be a tooth cap there, and it will no longer be driving me absolutely crazy. Also, like, I can't really bite into anything from the front. Like, I can't just like eat an apple or something because everything hits the gums there and it hurts. So that's the only big upcoming event. I mean, other than the school year is coming to a close mid-May, so we have all the end of school year events, and that's going to keep us very busy. The school has their, Fiber knows again, their big outdoor concert and all the fun things. And it's exciting, but also I am not ready to have a middle schooler, and my oldest will be moving to middle school. And I feel like that's a huge step that I am not necessarily prepared for at this point. I feel like middle school expects me as the parent to be a lot more organized than I really am. So I'm nervous about that. So if you have kids in middle school, let me know how it's going. Because I don't feel fully prepared for this at this point. And the school does their best to prepare you, but still, it's a little bit nerve-wracking. And I don't think my daughter feels that way. I think she's very excited to be moving to middle school, but I feel unprepared for middle school. So fingers crossed on that one. Other than that, like, we have not got our summer planned at all, and I'm feeling a little bit jittery about that. I'm like, we should have a plan, but no plan yet. Tax season just finished earlier this week, and I am so grateful it's over. I am tired of working on the days that I typically wouldn't work, or feeling like I need to work, or feeling guilty about not working. So we've gotten past tax day in the US, hallelujah. And now I can work a little more leisurely on my extended filers and not feel that crush. So that's good. I am still seeing a therapist and potentially seeking actual testing and diagnosis for what my therapist is 99% sure is ADHD, that has been undiagnosed forever. And that's been really good. I love seeing my therapist. I come away feeling like I have good ideas, and I do like to word vomit. So it's nice to have that captive audience for all those thoughts, all those things that are happening all at once. And I can just kind of regurgitate it all and like ask for feedback and be like, is this a normal reaction? Is this a normal feeling? Are these things being fed by something else that I could maybe mitigate a little bit and stuff? And so that's been great. So if you're on the fence about seeing a therapist, my ring light's dying. Absolutely recommend. I think you should do it. I realize I'm talking very fast, but I am just trying to fit all of this life stuff in at once. I don't know. I don't know what else there is right now. I'll probably think of something as soon as I'm done recording. but the school likes me to be on time to pick up my kids. So thank you for joining me. I hope you will come back, and please let me know what you're working on, or how the change of seasons is affecting your knitting mojo. What are you vibing on right now? Everything. Just converse with me in the comments. Also, hit me up on Instagram. All those things are linked below. I am happy to chat anytime. Set up a Zoom knit. I don't have an in-person knitting group, so I am happy to knit with you anytime. That is it. This is Summer Knits. It was episode 39, and thank you for being here.